the left have adopted so many of the actual Nazi tactics of control and their whole system of lockdowns. What you see in China, big groups of people, by the tens of thousands, being marched together, being led by one Pied Piper in the whole white medical uniform. That's the real type ideology that the Nazis were striving for. And we know that Hitler and, of course, Joseph Goebbels wrote about how, this is public, they wanted to take over England and kill H.G. Wells and kill Bertrand Russell and others, because the H.G. Wells and Bertrand Russell had a competing authoritarian world government leftist model that the Nazis were competing with, and they saw themselves, as you said, as socialist, but a different brand of it. And so I happen to know for a fact that the left and the tactic, that's what George Orwell wrote in 1984 about. George Orwell was number 2 in the propaganda arm of British intelligence in World War II. He'd been a communist before that in the Spanish Civil War and been a hero and heavily wounded. But then when he actually got at the top of the British socialist society and recognized that actually Stalin was being funded by the West, that it was actually a war against the individual in the future, and that Hitler had been wound up by British intelligence, not run by them, but actually built up and given power and funding early by the big banks. He realized that there was a global authoritarian system that operated under different names, but basically had the same goal, total power and control. And the reason I know that is not just reading 1984, probably 8-9 times, but I've read the writings, the essays in several big compendiums of George Orwell right before he died in 1949. He finished 1984 in like 1947. But he died about a year and a half later. And so George Orwell had this view of it as well. He thought the Nazis were the ultimate evil. He fought them before World War II in Spain and against Franco. And then he later learned there was a more evil group of Fabian socialist, British intelligence, basically Spectre, what you see in the James Bond movies. James Bond is Spectre. And I'm not saying all of British intelligence, but that British empire model that merged with America at Bretton Woods, and then America became the world empire at that point, that system is full spectrum dominance, where they want to control all the major groups and then play them off against each other in a Hegelian dialectic.
Can I jump in here with 3 things? First off, I do encourage people. No. I do encourage people to go and research, Orwell, and also, by the way, the Catalonians, because this is something where people will try and use it as an example of successful socialism, right? In the 1930s, say, anarcho-syndicate socialism. Go read what happened with Orwell and read how that collapsed and the kinds of pressures, and basically there were still factions of warring socialists. Because I was taught that in university. I was taught that in college, that was a good example of socialism, which lasted all but under half a decade. The other thing is, Kanye West said, if you're Terminator 1, he's Terminator 10. I don't think he understands how progressively shittier the Terminator sequels have gotten after Terminator 2. So that's actually a compliment to you.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.